everybody. I want to thank the Elizabeth and the others on the committee for asking me to speak today. I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit back to Virginia, but I'm from the Virginia Institute of Marine Science and the Marine Advisory Program, and so I work directly with the hatchery-based shellfish aquaculture industry. So I don't work with the public fishery. I work with just that one piece, and I want to acknowledge Tom Murray on this as a contributor as well, because he's our economist and the head of our program that's helped develop some of the tools that I'm going to talk about today. Because with the advisory program, we respond to the needs of the marine industry and regulators and the general public, and some of the ways we do that is by developing technical reports or tools that can help folks, and I'm going to talk about some of those today. So this is VMRC, Jim. This is the Virginia Marine Resources oyster landings data from the last 15 years. So you'll see the green line is the total oyster landings in Virginia. Red line is just off private ground. Blue line is the public ground. So the take-home message here is that you see the private ground is where the action's happening. That's where the growth is. And so that's one key point that I want to make. So what I'm going to talk about is just the hatchery-based oyster culture coming off private ground. But the important point is it's just one piece of what's happening on private ground. So as Dave talked about with transplanting oysters, wild oysters, that happens on private ground. I'm only going to take one little piece of it and talk about what's happening with hatchery-based aquaculture. We estimated, Jim and I got together, and the best estimate we could give you is about 125,000 bushels coming off from hatchery-based activity coming off private ground, which is about 34%. And again, it's the best estimate. We don't have any better estimate. I'll talk a little bit about how we make those estimates in a minute. So one of the tools I wanted to mention that Tom Murray developed, and I inherited it when I came on to VIMS, was trying to track the trends of this hatchery-based oyster aquaculture. And it's really important to note that we're now talking, everything I'm going to be talking about is trends, not landings anymore. And there's a difference. This economic tool is, we use industry. We send out a crop reporting survey to all the licensed aquaculture product owners, and they report back numbers sold, numbers planted, employment, average prices, market channels, and those types of things. We combine all that data and we put it into this report. And this has been really important to track just this one sector of private ground activity from the hatcheries, track that over time, because our state landings data really don't tease that out. And so what I'm going to demonstrate to you through this report is the rapid growth in this hatchery-based culture. So we have two forms of the hatchery-based culture, intensive and extensive. Intensive is the single oyster containerized culture. Primarily in Virginia, we're talking about off-bottom cages. And certainly that's more labor involved, higher cost, but you get better survival and you get a better price because that is sold by the piece directed at the boxed or half-shell market. And then we have our extensive culture, which is spat-on shell. Again, this is just hatchery-based spat-on shell. It's put on the bottom, unprotected. It's harvested with your standard harvest methods. And this is an economical way to produce large volumes of oysters for the shucked or meat market. So these are the two types. I'll mention that in Virginia, we use triploid oysters. So the spawnless oyster we use, and not only the spawnless variety or the triploid variety, but we use selected strains. So what's coming out of the hatchery are disease tolerant. They're superior genetic strains to the wild oyster, so they're able to resist disease. And about, I think I said about 90% or greater of our industry in both sectors are using triploids. So this is a graph from the report, and you'll see it's the last 10 years of this is just the containerized culture. We see a dramatic increase in numbers planted. We're up to 136 million single oysters planted, and you'll notice that there was almost a threefold increase in plantings from 2009 to 2010, and that was because we added hatchery infrastructure. So we added 2 more oyster hatcheries to the mix. And our output, or our sales for intensive culture, we have a 14.5 million in farm gate value. That's at the first sale. That's before you add marketing costs and all of that. And you'll see that that's also on the rise. And the highest was in 2014 at 40 million individual oysters sold. And again, those are being sold into the per piece price, into the box market primarily. We've got the majority are being sold wholesale channel. Majority are being sold out of state, and the average price has increased in the last 5 years, and the average price in our survey, again, which our growers are reporting, was 41 cents per oyster.